speeches from the ambassadors, the 3 ambassadors of the Baltic countries, which is a great honor that you could come today.
Deputy head of mission ambassador to be one day maybe, but it's my absolute honor to be here today, and I'm meeting Claudia not for the first time, and I had my occasions to talk to her and to go through her books and through her exhibition, of course.
The war in the Netherlands has ended almost 8 decades ago. Yet the memories still resonate, and almost every family still tells stories of the war. Stories of loss, fear, of hunger, but also of bravery and resistance. 70 years later, this war is still a part of who you are. We, the nations of Baltics, count only 33 years of independence. This is who we are. And Ukrainians are at war for their freedom. This war will leave scars and stories to be told over and over again, so we don't forget. She has never met her mother or brothers again. They exchanged letters, sometimes when the Soviet would let those through. It led, in the end, well, how I remember her, it was, she meant a lot to me, but she was distrustful, longing, she was angry for the rest of her life. And, well, in her life she became a teacher of Lithuanian language, and only now I see it as her own resistance to what had happened and resistance to the regime that she lived in. And the resistance, of course, is the topic of the second book in the sequence of Siberian Exiles.
Thank you, Gidre. Dear friends, I am personally also very touched and honored to be here today in this beautiful museum. And the first, I wish to thank Claudia for her particular interest and devotion for several years to work on this extremely important page of the history for all the Baltic countries. Because as my Lithuanian colleague Gidre just said, the Soviet repressions, resistance, and also sometimes, I admit, collaboration with, forms a very significant part of Latvian identity. Many were killed, many died, but those who survived were able to tell us the story of those crimes. Each of the personal stories of this tragic fate for the 3 nations, illuminated by Claudia, is connected with big loss, big broken lives, sorrows and pains. But what is equally important, I guess, they also tell us about stubborn endurance, strength, and the ability to appreciate life. I guess looking at the portraits Claudia made for this, during this project, the eyes say it very clear what is the main importance of in our lives. And to start a life anew during such a big times of change also requires big strength.
And when these lists were put together, then people go to archives, they look at them, and you see a pile of numbers. But behind these numbers are names. behind these names are stories and tragedies. And I think Claudia has found an incredible angle to share with the Dutch audience one part of European history that not everybody is aware of, through the stories of these Estonians, Latvians and Lithuanians. And many stories quite likely are still unknown because people never returned. I chanced to bring my 80-year-old father to this exhibition 3 weeks ago. He was born during the war, and I think as someone grown up in a Soviet-occupied Estonia, these stories were told, but in secret, and even I didn't know many. And now walking through these 3 parts of the exhibition and looking at this big map that introduces it, I heard first time some of the family stories I had never heard.
Knows very, very well how fragile freedom can be in this region, because we live by this monster state named the Russian Federation. My grandmother, Anna, she's 94 years old now. She lives in a village. She is the most optimistic person on earth, I believe, despite also being the person who has lost the most in her life. She pretty much lost everything or everyone that one can lose, starting from her loss of her father early on as a child, 3 brothers partisans who resisted the Russian regime, her own child, and so on and so forth. She was a partisan liaison, meaning that she helped them survive under the ground, inside the bunkers. Partisans waged a guerrilla warfare against the Soviet regime, as you know, and because she helped them, and because she herself did not want foreign troops on her own land, she was sentenced by the regime to spend 5 years in a concentration camp in Siberia, followed by 10 years in exile in Siberia. I was surprised very much about my grandmother's resilience, because people started panicking. Shall we move to Spain, Holland, whatsoever? Shall we buy salt and prepare our cellars? Shall we go fight? What shall we do? And my grandmother said, look, no one is on your land yet. We are part of NATO now. Keep calm, continue with your daily lives, and support Ukraine. I was very surprised, because in a couple of days, this was exactly the advice that the military and the therapists started giving to the people as well. And I was shocked also that my grandmother remembers songs, quite a few actually, which she learned in a concentration camp, because she was there with Ukrainian women. So I was really surprised about that too. She was in gulags together with them. And she remembers the lyrics of the songs in Ukrainian, which is not her native language. We get very, very traumatized to find out that there are people in the West who do believe Russian propaganda, and that they don't know what Russia is really all about. When Russia waged its terrible, unprovoked war, because I work as a journalist for LRT, I would get phone calls from other journalists in the West, let's say, or in the South. I get a call from this Portuguese journalist who asks me, so why do you support Ukraine that much? Why are you doing that? Is it because you fear you're going to be next? No, my dear, I said. We support Ukraine because we've been there, because we know exactly what this country is capable of, because we have been there too. And I am therefore extremely, truly thankful to the people like you, Claudia, who help us spread the truth to those who want to know the truth, and to show the direction to those handful of lost souls we still encounter in the Western world. What you're doing is magnificently valuable, so we do thank you with all of our hearts.
When I had the book presentation, I organized several book presentations of Wolfskinder in Lithuania, and I took that opportunity to visit the archives. And I can also already say it has two front sides. So you start here, and you also start here.
Magnificent work by Siberian, asking because I know there are a lot of supporters and followers. You have a long list of people that are following what you're doing, which is very good. And of course, everybody's very curious how you will continue now. But I think you're right, you need a short period of rest anyway, and enjoy the summer after this big project. Anyway,
it was a really fantastic opportunity. I want to thank especially you, because all the patience to prepare the text and the shorting, we had to work in a very short time. So, and you were as committed as I. So, I
thank you. But it's a very important project for the museum. I don't like. It's not for me, but it's yeah.
But you were committed. I want to thank the whole team I worked together with in the museum. I really felt like they all alsof ik gedragen werd by the whole team. I want to thank all the volunteers who work in the museum. I want to thank the people who organized this event, Marielle and Gregory and Bob. So I want to thank all of you. Then I want to thank the crowdfunders. There are a lot of crowdfunders here. I don't know all of you by person, but I don't know many of you by person, only a few. Without you, the book would not be possible to make. So I think I really would have a big applause for yourself. Because I want to thank Siberian for the design of the books. I want to thank Laura Staring, who's not here. She's edited the text. I want to thank you, Aleit, who edited Aleit Steenman, who is here today, who edited last minute the text for this book. Thank you very much for that. I want to thank the translator. She's not here, but she translated very good into English. I want to thank all eyewitnesses for sharing their stories with me, the archives and the museum. I want to thank the translators abroad, and at that point I want to thank one translator in special, that's Dinah. And my dear Dinah, we work together since 7 years on this project, and you are not only the translator, but also the one who does all the phone calls, and who you do so much. So the first book is for Dinah. Then I want to thank the 3 embassies for cooperating since so many years with me. I want to thank you because you made it possible to have all the drinks and snacks, and not only the mental support, but also the food support. So I want to give you all 3 a book. And thank you very much.